Back when I was a skinny, insecure teenager, I'd spend hours every night reading through the interviews on the Simply Shredded website. This is back when YouTube was just cat videos. I'm talking a long time ago. Time and time again, I'd read that these dudes that I looked up to were all training one muscle a day and pounding it into oblivion. I'm talking 30 to 50 sets a session, 8-hour arm workouts, and always focusing on a single muscle group at a time. For some reason, despite all of the evidence we have now, some people still hit chest on Monday, back on Tuesday, and so on. You know the drill. Maybe a bro split is a great idea if you're happy to train 11 days a week and take copious amounts of gear. But if you're just looking to build a bit of muscle or get a little bit leaner, here's why following a bro split might be a bit of a shit idea. Recovery. The reason you need a full week to recover from a training session is because you're only training that muscle once a week. And with so much volume in a single session, it's a genuine assault on your body each time you do. When you start training a muscle more frequently and with a more reasonable amount of volume each time, you'll notice something crazy happens. Recovery happens quicker too. Steroids. I'm sorry to break it to you, but the vast majority of the guys that you follow that do these sorts of splits, like pro bodybuilders, the guys that get on the Olympia stage, and even your favorite TikTokers, are all likely taking drugs, which means they're working with a little bit more than creatine and sleep to recover. On top of that, these guys are going to respond to whatever training they do. That doesn't make it optimal for you though. Science. If you aren't taking drugs, do you really want to be following a protocol that isn't optimal for making gains? Genuine question. Building muscle naturally is already hard enough. Believe me, I've been trying to do it now for 15 years. This study from Stuart Phillips in the American Journal of Physiology found that following resistance training, muscle protein synthesis spiked to 65% above baseline after 24 hours, was 34% above baseline at 48 hours, and then more or less returned to normal. Keeping muscle protein synthesis elevated is vital to maximize your growth potential. So waiting 7 days before training a muscle group again is potentially leaving you with a whole 5 days where MPS is effectively at baseline. A second study from the Journal of Strength and Conditioning Research concluded that when training volume was matched, subjects who trained just 1 day per week only had 62% of the strength gains of those who split their work over 3 days per week. By only hitting each muscle group once a week, you're potentially compromising both your ability to build and retain muscle and strength. Skill. Lifting weights is a skill. If you want to get better at it, especially the exercises that you're using to grow, you probably want to practice. You'll likely get much better at a skill, any skill, if you practice it more frequently. If you were trying to learn a new language after all, do you think you'd be able to pick it up really quickly if you were only studying it once a week? Probably not, right? Logic. Consider your typical Monday workout. It's chest because, chest Monday. You got maybe flat barbell bench press, incline dumbbell press, dumbbell flies, cable flies, push-ups, chest press on the machine, and the list goes on. By the time you get to those last, say, 3 exercises, your chest is going to be pretty beaten up. So your performance is probably going to be pretty half-assed. Whereas even if you just split those 6 exercises up into, say, 2 sessions and perform 3 chest exercises on Monday and then 3 on Thursday, you'd probably end up getting through far more quality work and lift more total volume over the course of the week because you aren't quite as tired from murdering your pecs beyond all belief on that Monday session. Lastly, volume. The real issue here is with the total amount of volume that these sorts of programs typically include. It's just way more than you actually need to make gains. More recent research suggests that realistically, all we need to be making optimal gains is somewhere in the vicinity of 4 to 6 hard sets per muscle per session. That seems to be the sweet spot. Meaning if you're doing anything more than that, we're really just getting into junk territory volume. You could simply be doing better things with your time, or instead hitting that muscle group more frequently, knowing that 3, 4, or 5 plus exercises per session is just overkill. So where do we go from here? If you're currently only training each muscle group once per week, then just try splitting each of those sessions in half and mix and match them. Now you're hitting muscle groups twice a week, still getting through the same total volume and total work, but because you aren't driving those muscles into the ground each time you train, you'll probably end up lifting heaps more in total by the end of the week. From there, you can probably consider whether the total amount of volume you're doing is actually necessary and focus instead on reducing total volume for a focus on higher quality, more efficient reps. Or if you want a plan laid out for you where you don't need to worry about whether or not you're doing too much or too little, you can grab a copy of my strength training templates. Simply comment a flex emoji down below and I'll send it straight to you.